Okay, so we're going to do the homework problems. It's not a huge number of them, but they do take a while, especially the later ones. So problem number 1, the center is 0, 0 because there's no offset here. X-axis is major axis. And that's because the x value in the denominator of the x term is larger. So A is the length of the major axis, which is 7, square root of 49. The length of the minor axis is the square root of 36, which is 6. So c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So you get 49 minus 36, which is 13. So c is equal to the square root of 13. And the square root of 13 is 3 point something. 3.61. So let's go ahead and draw it, and then we'll find the coordinates of the vertices and the foci. The eccentricity, which I didn't talk about in the notes. I did talk about it, but I didn't calculate it. And that has, just got to remember what the equation is. Yeah, so we'll do the eccentricity. Okay, so let's add a page there. I didn't want it. What am I doing here? I'm just trying to choose this thing. Okay, there we go. Okay, so plot the center. That's the origin. Now the major axis is the x-axis, and let's make sure we label the axis here. So this is 10, 10, negative 10, negative 10. So you go 7 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's the location of the vertex. One of the vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's that. That's the major axis vertices. Then you go in the y direction, 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positive, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negative. The focal points are 3.6 units to the left and right of the center. 1, 2, 3.6. 1, 2, 3.6. And we can go ahead and draw the lines here that define the boundaries to help us draw this thing. Like that. Just a little bit. Okay, and then we can sketch. At that point, you can sketch it so it's pretty close to a circle because A and B are close to the same thing. It's just a little bit stretched in the x direction relative to the y direction. Okay, so let's figure out the coordinates here. So we already know the center. That's the one thing we did plot, 0, 0. Now, the vertices are along the major axis, which is the x-axis. So y is 0, because we go horizontally here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7, 0, and negative 7, 0, if you go the other way. The foci are going to be, again, 0, and we go 3 point whatever units it is, 3.61. So it's going to be positive 3.61, and it's going to be minus 3.61, 0. And the eccentricity is c over a, and C is 3.61, and A is 7. So if you take that ratio, you get 0.5. The closer this is to 0, the closer it is to a circle. So I think I've answered all the questions here. Center, vertices, focus, foci, and the eccentricity and sketch the graph. Okay, so we're good. So let's do the next one. So again, the center is 0, 0. In this case, the y-axis is the major axis because that's the bigger denominator. So A is always the length of the major axis. So A is going to be 4, square root of 16. B is equal to the square root of 7, square root of 7. And C squared is A squared minus B squared. So that's 16 minus 7, which is 9. 16 minus 7 is 9. So C is 3. So we have ABC, we have the center. Now all we have to do is plot it, and then we'll get the coordinates once we do that. Okay, so plot the center. In this case, the major axis is the y-axis, so we go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's one vertex, and you go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the other vertex. The minor axis is the square root of 7, so let's figure what that is. Square root of 7, 2.65. So 1, 2, 2.65, so we're a little bit to the right of the center point. And the focal points are 3 in the major axis direction. So 1, 2, 3, so that's one focal point, and here's the other one. So we can draw these horizontal lines and these vertical lines. Again, I'm just, if you were doing it, you'd use a ruler or something. Okay, then we can draw it. So in this case, because the major axis is in the y-axis, it's elongated in the y direction. Okay, so now we can read everything off that we need. Center, 0, 0. Vertices. So we got 2 vertices along the major axis, and you can see the y value, or the x value, is going to be 0 for both of these points. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's positive 4, negative 4. The foci are again at 0. That's because the major axis is the y-axis, and you go up 3 units and you go down 3 units. And the eccentricity is equal to C over A. So C was equal to the square root of 7. No, B was equal to the square root of 7. So C is 3 and A is 4, so it's 0.75. So this one's a little more elongated than the one we had in the previous example, because this is eccentricity is a measure of how far you're stretching in the major axis direction. I think I got one more down here, didn't I? I think there's a 3 down there hiding. There it is. Now this one, the center is not the origin. So the center is going to be negative 3, 5. So it's x minus h, y minus k. y-axis is the major axis. That's because 25 is larger than 16. So a is equal to the square root of 25, which is 5. B is equal to the square root of 16, which is 4. And c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. So that's 25 minus 16, which is 9. Therefore, c is equal to 3. So now we can add a page and graph everything. Center, ABC. That's all you need. And it looks like normal scaling is going to work here. The reasonable distances: 10, negative 10, positive 10, negative 10. Okay, plot the center. Negative 3, 1, 2, 3, positive 5. There's your center. The y-axis is the major axis, so we're going to go up 5 units from the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one vertex. And you go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Focal points are 3, so you start at the center, go up 3, go down 3, and then you have your minor axis. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, 4 to the left. You draw in your box. And everything should be symmetric. Ellipses are symmetric things. Okay, so now we can get everything. We know what the center is. So 1, 2, 3, negative 3, positive 5. Vertices. Okay, so the x-axis, the x value for the vertex C is negative 3. We have 2 vertices, negative 3. The one that's the highest is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so it's 10. And down 5 gives us a 0. The foci are at the same x value as the vertices, so it's negative 3. And so we're at 5, 6, 7, 8, and down 5, 4, 3, 2. And the eccentricity is c over a, and c was 3 and a was 5. 3/5, or 0.6. Okay, now we'll move on. So I got it. Number 4. So again, this is the last one that's already in standard form. So the center is negative 5, comma 1. From here, negative 5, comma 1. Which one's bigger here? Y is bigger. So the y-axis is the major axis. So A is equal to 2, and B is equal to 4/3. So the square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 4 is 2. C squared equals A squared minus B squared. So that's 4 minus 16/9. Now 4 is 36. So you get 36/9 minus 16/9, which is 20/9. So C is equal to the square root of 20/9. So we'll just do the calculation there. 20 divided by 9, take the square root, you get 1.49. Okay, so we got everything again. So now we can graph this thing. It's going to be a smaller thing, so let's see what we want to do. Let's make it to every 2 units one, every 2 ticks 1 unit. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to go -5, +5, -5. And let me just put some tick marks in here. I don't want to draw too many numbers. It'll get a little too confusing. So I'm putting these tick marks every other grid mark. Actually, just thought that is not going to work out that well because I've already got it -5 here, so I'd be right on the edge. So that's not going to work. We're just going to go use our standard scaling, which is going to be a small ellipse that's far from the center. Okay, so you go -5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, +1. So there's my center. My major axis is the y direction, so it's 2. So I go up 2. I go down 2. The vertex here, what did we say was, the vertice, foci 1.49, so about 1.5. So there's 1, 1.5, 1, 1.5. And then the minor axis, we go over 4/3. So this is 1. 4/3 is 1 1/3. So we're going to put a dot there. Going to put a dot there. And now we can draw our little tiny box for our little tiny ellipse. So let's reposition these so they're more accurate as I can get. And then you can draw your little baby ellipse in there, little bean. Okay, now let me just write A, B, and C here. So I have A is equal to 2, B is equal to 4/3, C is equal to 1.49. So the center, that's easy. Center is -5, 1. The vertices will be, so you can see again the y-axis is the major axis, so that's everything's going to happen along the y direction here. So they're all going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're going to be -5 for x. Same thing for the foci. So they're going to be -5, -5. And if we go up 2 units, we're 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be 3. And then we're going to down 2 units. So that's 1, 0, -1. And that actually were the vertices. I put those in the wrong place. So that's 3, -1. Okay. Now the focal points are, that's C. So here we have 1 unit to the center to 2.49. And then you go the other direction. So you have 1. So you get 1 unit, which gets you to 0, and then another 0.49, so it's -0.49. And the eccentricity is equal to C over A. C is 1.49, A is 2. So that's 0.745. Okay, we need to go back. Got 3 more in this grouping. So now we've got to put these in standard form. So the original ones were already in standard form. So we're going to group the two x terms together and the two y terms together. Move the 36 to the other side. We're going to factor out the 9. Leave some space. Factor out the 4. Leave some space. So 36 divided by 9 is 4. Negative 24 divided by 4 is negative 6. So we're going to take 4 divided by 2 squared, which is 2 squared, which is 4. So we add 4, but we're really adding 36. 9 times 4. Here we take negative 6 divided by 2, which is negative 3. Gotta square it. Negative 3 squared is equal to 9. So we add 9. But we're really adding 36 again. So add 36. Add 36 from each one of these. And we can rewrite those three terms as complete square. It's going to be x plus 2 squared plus 4 times x minus 3 squared. And you add all this together, you get 36. Now we divide both sides by 36. To get 1 on the right-hand side. You take this and rewrite it, take the reciprocal of that and put it in the denominator. In this case, you can simplify them. So 36 divided by 9 is 4. And I read this as a y. Sorry. Let me go back and fix that. I got carried away with x's here. Why? You're probably asking that question yourself. Why? And 36 divided by 4 is 9. Okay, so there it is in standard form. So what do we have? That we have the center at negative 2 comma 3. What's the major axis again? Well, the major axis is the y-axis again. So A is 3, square root of 9. B is equal to 2, the square root of 4. C squared is equal to 9 minus 4, or 5. So C equals the square root of 5. And the square root of 5 is 2.24. So let's go ahead and draw the graph. Okay, center. Oh, let's label a graph. Okay, so it's negative 2, 3. There's the center. The major axis is the y direction, so we're going to go up 3 units. 1, 2, 3. Down 3. The foci are 2.24, so we go up 2.24, which is about 2 1/4. Down 2.24. The minor axis is 2, so we go right 2, left 2. Draw our box. It's easy because they're right on the two the major and minor axes are integers, so that makes it easy to align these lines. Sketch in the ellipse. Like that. And let's do everything here. So center. So that's -2, 3. We've got the vertices and the foci. There's 2 of each. And again, because the major axis is the y-axis, everything has the same x value, which is -2. So -2, -2, -2, -2. Now the vertices are these red dots. So we have -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 0. And they did it in the wrong place again. Up here, 6, 0, and then the focal points is what is C? 2.24. So you got 2, 1, 2, 3, plus 2.24. So that's 3, 4, 5, 5.24. And if you go the other direction, you got 3, 2, 1, and you subtract 0.24 from 1, so take 1 minus 0.24, and you get 0.76. If you take this minus that, so if you take 5.24, subtract 0.76, you'll get 4.48. And if you divide that number by 2, you'll get 2.24, which should be this number. Because this is the distance from the center up and down, so if you go from here all the way down there, that difference, you should get twice the value. And then finally, the eccentricity is C over A, and C was 2.24, A was 3, so that's 0.747. Okay, let's move on to problem number 6. So we're going to put this in standard form. So we're going to group the x terms together. And we'll group the y terms together. And we'll put the constant to the other side. So that positive 2 becomes -2. Okay, so the first one is we're going to factor out 6. So we divide 18 by 6, which is 3. Here we're going to factor out 2. So we get y squared minus 5y. So we divide this by 2 and this by 2. Leave some space. Keep -2 on the right-hand side. Okay, so we take 3 divided by 2, which is 3/2. We square that, which is 9/4. So we add 9/4 inside. But we're really multiplying, we're really adding 6 times 9/4. So 6 times 9 is 54/4. And you divide both of those by 2, so you get 27/2. So we're going to add 27/2 to both sides. You can either add and subtract it from the same side, or you can add it to both sides. Then we do the same thing here. Take -5, divide by 2, square that, which is 25/4. So we're going to add 25 over 4 to the inside the parentheses, but we're really multiplying 2 times 25 over 4. And you can see I can simplify that down to 25 over 2. So that is going to be, we're adding 25 halves to balance out this. So now we can rewrite this part. This complete square, we use this number plus 3 halves squared plus 2 times y minus, because we have a minus sign here, we also have a minus sign there, 5 halves squared, and that equals all this stuff added together. So what is that? That's so this, I'm going to replace -2 with -4 halves. So if we add 27 plus 25, that's 40, that's 52. 52 minus 4 is 48. So we'll get 48 halves, which is 24. Just want to make sure I'm doing this right before we move on here. Okay, so let's do this here. -2 plus 27 halves plus 25 halves is 24. Okay, so I did do that right. So let me just write that up. Oh, yeah, so now what we got to do is we got to divide both sides by 24. So you have 6 divided by 24 times x plus 3 halves squared plus y minus 5 halves squared, and this is 2 divided by 24 is equal to 1, and so you can see this is 4. 24 divided by 6 is 4, so you get 4 here, and there we get 12, so it's going to be 24 divided by 2 is 12, so we get y minus 5 halves squared divided by 12 equals 1. So what we have is the major axis is the y-axis, and that's because this number is bigger than that number. So a is the square root of 12, and b is equal to the square root of 4, which is 2. And if we take the square root of 12, we'll get 3.46. And c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So that's 12 minus 4, which is 8. And therefore c is equal to the square root of 8. And the square root of 8 is 2.83. So we got everything we need now to define the center. So the center is at -3. Did I do something? Yeah, what was it? Negative? Oh, 3 halves. I wrote that down wrong. I thought it was a fraction. Okay. So it's -3 halves and +5 halves. Now I'm going to get a piece of graph paper. And we're going to go ahead and still use the normal scale that we do in these problems. So our center is -3 halves, +5 halves, so that puts us right in the center. So since the y-axis is the major axis, we're going to go up 3.46. So we go 1, 2, 3. 0.46 is going to put us really close to here. And if you go 1, 2, 3, and another half approximately, so that puts you really close to that point. Now the location of the foci are 2.83. So we go 1, 2, 2.5, 2.83. So that's pretty close to the edge, and you'd have the same kind of thing down here. And then on the minor axis, we're going to go 2 units. So we go 1, 2 to the middle, 1, 2 to the middle of that. Now we can draw our box. So the closer the focal points are to the vertices, the more elongated this ellipse is. Like that. Now, to actually find the numerical values, let me write these numbers down here. So A is 3.46, B is 2, C is 2.83. Okay, so let's do, we've already done the center. So the vertices, you can see the vertices are going to, and the focal points are going to be along this vertical line, which is, vertical lines are x equals something. So we get -3/2 for these, and we'll get the same thing for the foci. So it's -3/2, comma something. Now the vertices, we're going to start here at 5/2. So I'm going to do the calculation here. So this is going to be 5/2 plus A, which is 3.46. So that's 5/2 is 2.5. 2.5 plus 3.46. That's going to be 5.96. And you say, well, can't you change that to a decimal? The answer is probably yes. You probably want to have both decimals. Now you go the other direction. You're going to go 2.5 units from the center to the axes. And then you go an amount. So what you would do here for this, I'm going to do the calculation down here. But if you took the total distance from the center, 3.46, and you subtracted 5/2, which is 2.5, you'll get, so plug that in the calculator, 3.46 minus 2.5, 0.96. So this is negative 0.96. And you can always check your answers by taking this number, subtract that number. So if you take 5.96, subtract a negative 0.96, and divide that by 2, that has to equal A. And the same thing is going to be true here. For this part, you're going to have 5/2, 2.5. So I've just changed that 5/2, 2.5. And then you're going to add 2.83 to that, 2.83. 2.5 plus 2.83 is 5.33. And down here, you're going to go down 2.5 and then a little bit extra. So this part is just like this calculation. You're going to take the total 2.83. you're going to subtract 2.5. So that's 0.33. But that's on the other side of the x-axis, so it's negative 0.33. And again, if I subtract these two numbers, 5.33 minus a negative 0.33, I'll get 5.66. Divide that by 2, I'll get 2.83, which is that number. So I'd probably rewrite these. Final answer here, negative 1.5, 5.96, and negative 1.5, comma, negative 0.96, and the foci are negative 1.5, comma, 5.33, and negative 1.5, negative 0.33. And the eccentricity is C over A. So C is 2.83, A is 3.46. So I get 0.818. Okay, so that's that one. And the final one for this section is number 7. So we're gonna group the x terms together, group the y terms together, we'll move the constant to the other side, make it negative. So we've got a factor of 9 here because we've got 9x squared, so it's going to be 9 times x squared, 36, negative 36 divided by 9 is negative 4. Here we got 25, so we'll factor out 25. We'll get y squared. 100 divided by 25 is 4, so we get 4y. That's equal to negative 60. Okay, this one's actually easier because there's no fractions involved. So we're going to have negative 4 divided by 2, this number divided by 2 squared, which is negative 2 squared, which is 4. So we add 4 inside the parentheses, but we're really adding 36. 9 times 4 is 36, so we have to add that to both sides. Do the same thing over here. Just was thinking something's... Oh yeah, these are both negative, so that's right. Okay, so we get the same thing here. Negative 4 over 2 squared, negative 2 squared, 4. Add 4, but really we're adding 25 times 4, which is 100. So we're going to add 100 to both sides. And this can be factored. Take this number, negative 2, x minus 2 squared, plus 25 times y minus 2 squared. And you add all those things together and you get 144, I believe. Let's see, 100, no you don't, plus 36 minus 60. You get 76. Really? That's weird. I would have thought that would have worked out better. I'm just going to double check something here, make sure it is okay. Okay, it's because the one in the book, I had negative 50 here, but I made it 100 so that it would come out to be an even number, so I did that to benefit you guys. Okay, so the final, so it helps with having to complete squared. The actual dimensions are going to be a little weirder, but not too weird. So we're going to divide this by 76. We're going to divide this by 76. So these A, B, and C and D are all going to be decimals. So that's in almost standard form. We got one more step to go. So, well, I'm going to make it 2 more steps. First is a fraction and as a decimal. So 9 over 76 is the same as dividing by 76 ninths. And here, 76 over 25. So A is, well, which one of these is bigger? In this case, X is bigger, so because we're dividing 76 by a smaller number. So in this case, the x-axis is the major axis. And so A is equal to the square root of 76 over 9. 76 divided by 9, take the square root, you get 2.91. And B is equal to the square root of 76 divided by 25. Excuse me. 76 divided by 25, take the square root, 1.74. And so C squared is equal to 2.91 squared minus 1.74 squared. So that's 2.91 squared minus 1.74 squared. So that's 5.44, or C is the square root of that. So you get 2.33. So I'm going to write those numbers down. So A is 2.91, B is 1.74, C is 2.33. The center is 2, 2, because I use that up here. Okay, so now we should be able to draw this, or sketch it. So it's a sketch, so you know, I don't have to be perfectly accurate. And these are pretty small numbers, but I think we'll still use a normal scaling. Okay, so 2, 2. There's my center. The x-axis is the major axis, so A is 2.91. So we go 1, 2.9, 2.9, 1, 2.9. So those are the vertices. For the foci, you go 2.33. So you go 1, 2. It's close to the end. Again, this is kind of a fairly eccentric ellipse. Now, in this case, the y-axis is the y direction is the minor axis, so that's 1.74. So there's 2, so 1.74 is about right there. Go the other direction 1.74. Draw these horizontal lines. Again, I'm just going to rough them in, and then I can move them once I get them in there to have them better represented. Okay, so there's the box. And so here's the ellipse. Okay, now, so we know the center. I already wrote that down. Center is 2, 2. The vertices. So you'll notice the vertices, everything's along this line, which is positive 2. So everything is going to have an x-coordinate of positive 2. Now, the vertices, you're going to have 2 plus 1 point, or 2.91. So it's going to be 2 plus 2.91, which is going to be 4.91. So this is 2, the center, plus 2.91, which is the length, half the length of the major axis. And then here you're going to be subtracting it. So you go 1, 2, and then 0.91. So that's negative 0.91. And again, if you take that and subtract that, 4.91 minus a negative 0.91, you'll get 5.82, and you divide by 2, and you get 2.91. So this minus that divided by 2 should give me A. So that works out right. So this was 2 minus 2.91, which equals negative 0.91. This equaled 4.91. Okay, and the same thing applies here with the focal point. So you start at 2 and you go 2.33 units. So it's 4.33 and negative 0.33. And again, if you add these two together, you'll get 4.66. Divide 4.66 by 2, you get 2.33. And the eccentricity is C over A. So C is 2.33 divided by A, which is 2.91. So that's 0.800. Okay, and we got one more section to do, which is take the information, some of the information, and figure out the other stuff, and then put it in standard form. So let's think about what's going on here. We're just going to plot a few points and then try to deduce everything else by understanding what's going on here instead of trying to memorize formulas. So you've got vertices, and it's 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's one vertex, and 4, 4, which is right here. So the center is always in the middle. So you can see if this is 0 and this is 4, then the center has to be that way. We also know that it has the major axis is in this direction because the vertices are always in the direction of the major axis. So what that means, what can we say? We can say that A is equal to 2. That's this distance. Now the interesting thing, unless I wrote this down wrong, is the minor axis length is 2. Well, yeah, is 2. So that the minor axis would be going this way. And what it's saying is the total length is 2. So minor axis length means that B is equal to 1 because you have the length is the total, but B is from the center to that point. So that means we have these as our points on the minor axis. We can also say that c squared is equal to 2 squared minus 1 squared, which is 3. So c equals the square root of 3, so we know where the focal points are. But we don't need to know that to do the equation in standard form. We have everything we need. You need A, you need B, and you need the location of the center. So now we should be able to write it. Which problem is this? This is problem number 8. So problem number 8 is going to be x minus, okay, so the center, I didn't write what the coordinates of the center were. It's 2, 4, right between the two vertices. So you're going to have x minus 2 squared. The major axis is in the x direction, so I'm going to put a squared in the denominator there. And the y direction is the minor axis. The location of the y location of the center point is 4, so I have y minus 4 squared, and the length of the half the length of the minor axis, or b, is 1, so you get 1 squared, and that's equal to 1, so the final answer is x minus 2 squared over 4 plus y minus 4 squared over 1 is equal to 1. So that's the answer. Let's do the next one. So again, we're going to get a piece of graph paper. So the center is 2, 1. 2 comma negative 1, so it's right here. The vertex is at 2 comma a half, so that's here. Now, because of symmetry, the other vertex has to be equally spaced on the other side. I'm doing something wrong because it wasn't making sense. Yeah, let's see what I did wrong. So vertex is 2 comma 1 half, so that's 2 comma 1 half. Okay, so because of symmetry, this has to be over here. This is 1.5 units. 1.5. So this goes 1.5, and the total length is 3, so that agrees with that. So now the question is, what do we do next? Because it seems like this information makes that information redundant. And what I need is I need one more piece of information. So let me make sure that it's because I just wrote down, I was trying to make it different, and now I realized that I made it so you can't solve the problem. Okay, so the minor axis length is 2. And this has to be true because the major axis length has to be greater. This is 3. So if the minor axis length is 2, then the distance b is 1 unit. So we go this way 1 unit, and we go that way 1 unit. So we have everything that we would need to draw the ellipse. We have the 4 points that define the 4 boundaries. But and then we don't need C, so we could calculate C, but we don't need C. So I think we have everything we need. So what we know is that B is equal to 1. It's half the length of the minor axis. A is equal to, well, A is 1.5. So that's 3 halves. So A squared is going to be 9/4. And the center is given 2 comma negative 1. So given all those 3 pieces of information, the equation would be, and again the y-axis is the major axis. So you're going to have y minus x minus 2 because of this squared. You'll have y plus 1 squared because of that. The major axis is associated with the y direction, so it's 3 halves squared. And here we have 1 squared. And that whole thing equals 1. So the final answer is x minus 2 squared over 1 plus y plus 1 squared over 9/4 equals 1. And that's the answer.